great.
Have you seen the Florida man who's always collecting things from the swamp?
Oh yeah,
No.
I love this.
Oh, does he go and like boop the animals?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love that guy too.
He's
Man.
fearless. I like. I don't want to be in that swamp at night. And he's
He's
like,
barefoot, getting bit by everything.
right. He does. He forgives the animal instantly for attacking him. He's like, don't do that. No.
I mean, that's a special kind of wild. I mean, most of what he's doing is obviously python hunting and pulling in invasive species out, which is a fascinating thing to watch. But I mean, yeah, they all bite him always, and
he doesn't care.
I mean, getting bit by a snake isn't the worst thing in the world as long as it's non-venomous. And there was one of those guys though that got bit by a rattlesnake the other day and like was super hospitalized.
I saw it.
I saw that video.
The one where he's like, I just got bit by a rattlesnake, and he shows the dead rattlesnake, and then like they skip forward. He's like, well, they drove me to the hospital, and then they airlifted me here. I've had 15 units of anti-venom, and then he shows the leg, and it's like, I don't think it's working. The leg is swollen and it's starting to, it's necrotic. Like, venom starts digesting you, and it turns your blood. Zach, see if you can find that.
Like coagulates
of what rattlesnake venom does to blood. They just inject some into like a thing of blood, and it coagulates and rot, and it's like, oh my god, I'd rather be.
Do you know how this story ends?
Does he pass away?
I think he's okay. I mean, if you get bitten in an extremity, you're within 100 miles of a hospital, you're probably going to be generally all right.
Is it a good
with most North American snakes? We're not talking about Indian snakes.
If there's rattlesnakes in your region, they have anti-venom at a hospital in your region. Like they're gonna
helicopter flight away,
and they're gonna
there
fly
you go.
Yeah. Look at that! Wow. How disgusting! That's inside you now.
That's
Can you
blood.
imagine? And that, oh my god, the infection, the sepsis, the just I've seen people lose huge chunks of their body. That's probably one of those situations where they use the maggots. Have you ever seen maggot therapy, Taylor?
Oh yeah,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love maggot therapy.
Like it.
Dude. I almost wish I'd be horribly injured so I could have some. I bet it tickles.
Oh.
So for those who don't know, there are certain.
It makes total sense. It's a good idea. Like back in the day, it's like, hey, you got
they do it now.
You got a bunch of I guess now because
it's superior.
A maggot is better than even the best surgeon because a maggot's going to be like living flesh. That's not my jam. I eat the dead flesh. They're very picky.
Who have the gangrenous or septic type wounds where a lot of their sometimes with frostbite even a lot of the tissue needs to be removed, but they want to keep as much as they can keep. So they'll put these special maggots that are like medical maggots all over the wound and then wrap it and send you home. And like come in whenever, like I guess the next day, and the next day they come in.
They turn to flies.
They come in the next day and they change the guy's maggots. And I just remember like seeing the before and after. It goes from a rotten wound to pink, healthy flesh and nothing else. Like they eat every scrap of the bad.
Yeah,
it's amazing,
dude.
I saw a similar taxidermy strategy for snakes because my first boa constrictor actually passed away last year of cancer. But they will let bugs eat the flesh away and pose the skeleton as a taxidermy thing, and you can kind of put it in like a shadow box. And I was like, man, if I thought about that, that might have been a cool thing to have with the 9-foot boa constrictor.
A snake skeleton is very cool. I like when I see snake skeletons,
especially with the fangs.
I wouldn't want a snake in my house otherwise, but the skeleton part would be neat.
Yeah,
I just don't think I could. I don't think I could bond with a snake very well.
Not only that, I remember a snake was in my uncle's house one time, and everybody made fun of him because he got the shotgun out and blew a huge hole in the laundry room wall, killing the snake. He was like, if he'd escaped into the wall or into the inside of the house, I had to burn the motherfucker down. I can't cohabitate with a snake. And he meant it.
He meant it. Yeah, no.
My grandpa grew up in the boonies in southern Missouri with no running water as a farmer, and he told the story of his like great uncle who lived in a log cabin down there, and like a raccoon. He said it was, according to his great uncle, like he said this was the biggest raccoon he ever did see, and it was in his house, in his cabin. And he tried to grab it, throw it out the cabin, and it bit the tip of his finger plumb off. And I was like, oh my God, like and I'm like, really? Like you saw it? And he's like, yeah, I seen his finger plumb off from here.
That was the reason given.
From a raccoon. People used to give him shit sometimes. And he said, you ain't been giving me shit. You seen this raccoon? The size of it, my dogs couldn't have handled it. Like,
so a lot of people go to pet store and get a ball python, which are fine. They don't get huge, but they are not all that social. Not that any of them are dogs, but snakes can be a bit cat-like. That they'll tolerate you nicely. But a ball python's nocturnal and doesn't really care, and so I'm a big boa constrictor fan, and they do well, and they only get big enough that a single person can handle them. You start to get Burmese pythons, reticulated pythons, green anacondas, then you're going to have a team, and nobody has got time for that.
Are you thinking about getting a snake?
Oh, I've had a few. Yeah,
ones. I think he was wondering why I asked the question if a corn snake was a good starter. I'm not that serious about it, but I go to these like conferences for people who keep saltwater fish.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of times there's overlap with the snake people. And in the stores, actually, one of my local saltwater reef stores, half of it is devoted to snakes. So I always wander over there and see the snakes and wonder a little.
If you like fish, you'll love a snake because it's, you can get it out and play with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it bites.
Fish of the land.
I have a fish that loves to be hand fed. That's something.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You get a sea snake. Although I don't think there are any sea snakes that aren't like unbelievably dangerous, right?
Yeah. Seems like most of them are very venomous. Or at least that's what
very venomous, not very dangerous.
Yeah.
So very like
they're all rear fanged. They can't bite body.
Really?